Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're back with the Empire, Balthazar Gelt, final cheese mutation free. Going to be leading the Empire against the Lizardmen, so let's take a look. Gelt, instead of final transmutation, we've got metal shifting to get that nice map-wide 10% AP and weapon damage with Searing Doom and Plague of Rust. Plague of Rust, of course, going to be very good against the dinos. We've got some Faith Demis, of course, Royal Altar of Griphites backed up by a Warrior Priest. I've taken to calling them Faith Demis, which I feel like is an appropriate name here. We got that sweet Hammer of Sigmar to help buff them up. In terms of the rest of the army, we've got a front line of Spearmen with shields, a couple great swords supported by a Warrior Priest, and some Reiksguard as well. 3 units of Reiksguard. We've also got 3 units of Pistoliers. I figured with the Plague of Rust, these guys could be pretty effective, even with their non-AP missile fire. And that's pretty much it for my build. For my opponent, he's got Krokar up on Grimlock, some Skink Cohorts, a couple Temple Guard, and some Kroxigors here. Bastiladon, a couple of Bastiladon Solar Engines, and way out on the flank, some Chameleon Skinks. So without further ado, let's get the battle underway. You can see here, going to be using the Pistoliers to start popping off some shots, and we do put that Overcast Plague of Rust to put these Kroxigors down to only 40 armor, so of course they will be taking quite a bit of damage here. Fortunately, my micro not quite on point here, and I'm going to allow these Kroxigors to catch my Pistoliers momentarily, but the Reiksguard going to go ahead and countercharge here, and again, with the reduced armor, the Kroxigors will take a lot of damage from that charge. You can see them getting enraged, and meanwhile, my opponent just kind of pushing forward towards my main force on the hill here. I'm not really too enthused about really reacting too hard. I am going to go ahead and pull these 2 great swords over here to the side, since the Temple Guard's over here, and the other Temple Guard's looking like it might want to come over here as well. Go ahead and pull the Pistoliers back to the woods, where Balthazar's chilling with the Faith Demis. And meanwhile, these Reiksguard going to go ahead and try and push away the Chameleon Skinks. There's, 1,800 points worth of Chameleon Skinks here, so if we can at least zone them out, keep them from just tearing apart my state troops, it should be pretty good. You can see the Skink Cohort, unfortunately not fast enough to quite pursue there. Krokar is trying to decide where to go. This Warrior Priest is going to come in, drop a nice buff to buff up those Spearmen. You can see Spearmen with shields with the Hammer of Sigmar and get really good combat stats if I can get them here. 46 melee attack, 42 melee defense, of course, baseline. But yeah, buffed up, they get quite good stats. They'll hold very well here. Meanwhile, over on the far side, we've got the Bastiladon being dragged down here by Spearmen. Again, the Overcast Plague of Rust going to help these non-AP Spearmen do a bit better here. And the Temple Guard, unfortunately, are just getting surrounded by great swords, which is a pretty rough situation. You can see the Pistoliers popping off shots, and here come the Faith Demis. So the Royal Altar of Griphites engage on Krokar here, and the Warrior Priest is going to come drop those buffs as well. So you can see the Altar of Griphites at the 64 melee attack is going to be tearing apart Krokar here. Just watch his health just plummet in this engagement, despite the fact he has anti-large AP. There's a lot of Spearmen distracting his attacks here, and the fact that the Demis can get a surround, you can see how they're kind of surrounding him and getting attacks from multiple sides here. Doesn't mean they're going to be circumventing his melee defense. It doesn't necessarily guarantee a hit. You still have to roll to hit, but with the Royal Altar of Griphites, at least with their buffed up melee attack, they're pretty much always going to make a hit. With their regular melee attack, let's see, 35% base chance to hit plus 38, so that's what, about a 70% chance to hit. They're attacking from the rear without Krokar's melee defense involved, so still, not a guaranteed hit, but certainly bypassing the melee defense is decent there. You can see Krokar starting to buckle, and the Revification Crystal, sorry, not the Rev Crystal, the Solar Engine that was with him also crumbling there. We're able to finish off the Kroxigors and the Skinks here in the center. Reiksguard over on the far side have had to pull away from the Skinks, but we managed to do some damage and at least hold them in place, and the Great Swords also dragging down the Temple Guard here as the Pistoliers fire into the back. So yeah, definitely a fun battle. Not the most competitive Lizardmen build, I would say, against the Empire. Krokar is nice on paper, but the big dinos in general, I think, against the Empire are a pretty tough proposition. I actually think Krokar is pretty decent here if you take him on foot, or even on a cold one. Just makes him a smaller target. If you take him on foot, then he's not large, so the Demigryph Knights won't get their anti-large bonus there. So you can kind of negate that, and honestly, in a lot of matchups, if you want to kind of counter-pick I guess not counter pick, but counter meta pick. Most people will expect you to bring big dinos as a Lizardmen, so if you bring hardly any big dinos, then that kind of probably will negate a lot of your opponent's effectiveness if they brought a lot of anti-large focus tools. Granted, there are also a lot of tools that are good against both Lizardmen infantry and against the dinos like guns, for example. But the Faith Demis, definitely one of the strongest tools in the game at dealing with monsters right now. And let's go ahead and take a look at the post-battle screen, and we're going to jump into one more replay with the Faith Demis. Balthazar doing a great job here, just providing the nice support buffs. Didn't really need to get involved in combat too much. The Pistoliers honestly did a great job, much better than I was expecting. With the Plague of Rust especially, they were able to tear apart those Crocscores. My opponent, unfortunately, these Chameleon Skinks were just on the wrong side. Had they been on the other side of the battlefield, they could have had a nice skirmish engagement with the Pistoliers, which they would do quite well in, but unfortunately, since they were way on the other side, they weren't in a position to defend against the Pistoliers. And yeah, the Faith Demis only got one kill, but did manage to pretty much finish off Krokar and one solar engine, so that in and of itself is pretty cost effective. Reichsguard doing their thing, just solid all around cav. And yeah, I'm planning to do a overview of the Empire. For those of you who remember, I did let's see, I believe it's this one here. I did an overview of the Norska video a while back, and basically just went through the roster, kind of talked about some different things. So I plan on doing the same thing for the Empire, so stay tuned for that very soon. But yeah, just wanted to bring these two quick replays showcasing Faith Demis. I know you guys have seen them a lot on my channel, but just kind of wanted to, I guess, codify or more, I don't know, I've been using Faith Demis with either an Archlector or Warrior Priest to buff them up for quite a while, and pretty much since they buffed the Hammer of Sigmar and the Grand Hammer of Sigmar, I've been using them, but people still haven't really taken notice. Some of the competitive players have, like I know Tlaxlan Soothsayer is a big fan of that, using that same tactic, and other competitive players as well, but it seems like when I play against the Empire, I don't often see Faith Demis, so just trying to put out a few more replays to try and spread the word here. Yeah, you can see we are fighting the High Elves here. Just quickly going over the army, we've got Alariel, we've got Frostheart Phoenix, some Silver Helms and Dragon Princes, main line of White Lions with some Swordmasters, a couple Archers, and an Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. And yeah, for myself, pretty similar build. We've got Silver Bullets, Hammer of Witches, Reichsguard again, lots of state troops. I believe Balthazar is also leading the way this time. Yep, he's chilling here in the woods. Same spell loadout and everything. We've also got the Faith Demis, and way over here, the Zintler's Reichsguard in a Vanguard. Going to be pushing up and doing some good scouting on my opponent. Since his mobile forces are way over here on this side, I can go ahead and push my Reichsguard out and clean up that Bolt Thrower. Meanwhile, the cannon is getting some good shots here. There are some high-value elf units we can shoot at here. Since my opponent is content to just, you know, whittle down my state troops with his arrows, that's perfectly fine by me. We're going to try and get a little bit of a pitched engagement out here. So we've got the Silver Bullets who pop up from stock with a nice volley or two against those Silver Helms. And this is, you know, if my opponent decides to commit here on the Silver Bullets, which is not a bad idea, I do have the Reichsguard in a protection position, so they're going to go ahead and follow up. We've got more Reichsguard also coming in from the side here, so it's going to be a rough time for the Silver Helms. Silver Helm's just really a not super cost-effective cavalry. I'll talk a little bit more about them probably when I do an overview of the High Elves, but just in general, I'm planning on doing more guide-focused content and, you know, sort of talking about what I've learned and sharing my knowledge about the game, because I've realized, talking to some people recently, that you know, players just joining the game recently, you can see these Dragon Princes also countercharging in here. Alariel and the Phoenix are going to commit as well, which means, you know already, you can see them coming in the distance. The Faith Demis, they're coming. But anyway, for players who are just now getting into the game, I can only imagine how daunting it must seem that there's all of these factions now that, you know, previously in Total War Warhammer 1, even then there were quite a few matchups, but now there's just so many. You've got 5 factions from Game 2, plus I don't even know how many from Game 1, so it can be pretty daunting for a new player to try and learn all those matchups. So I'm planning on doing an overview series where I basically just go through each roster and talk about the different units they have, what you're likely to see in different matchups, sort of what the faction strengths and weaknesses are, because a lot of the times similar type of builds with different factions will work against a given faction. The High Elves, for example, just as an aside here, are relatively weak to swarm tactics. You know, they're relatively limited in number. That's their main downside. So their units are relatively expensive, so you can kind of use that to your advantage if you take a super wide army with a few elite, hard-hitting units, but you can just envelop the High Elves and really trap them in that way. It works with most factions. And so I plan on doing that with each of the factions, just kind of going through, talking about their strengths and weaknesses, their roster, and what you're likely to face when you're fighting them. Let me know what you guys want me to do. Again, I'm planning on doing the Empire. I've already done Norska as well. Let me know what faction you guys want me to do next, though. I don't know that I'm going to necessarily go through and do like a whole faction focus week like Total Brohammer's done. Probably more of something a little bit simpler and just like a single video, but yeah, let me know what races you guys would like to learn about. But yeah, in terms of this battle, I mean, it was a pretty one-sided affair. My opponent did end up admitting defeat there after we had won that cavalry engagement so decisively, but the tail of the tape is that the Demigryph Knights were able to come in, and because all those cavalry were pinned in by the Reiksguard, the Faith Demis just came in and wrecked shop. Also wrecked the Froststar Phoenix and Alariel, so yeah, at that point my opponent's infantry hadn't even engaged, which is a little bit of a mistake, obviously, but hey, there you go. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.